that Miss Johnson was one of the ones like that. Her classes were interesting, and she made them that way too. And she was the type that would help you no matter what. I mean, even if it required her staying after a class or something of that nature, or having you to stay after, or she doing it on her lunch hour. Miss Johnson was the type of person that would make sure that you knew what was being taught that day. And she was the type that if you missed something, she would help you with it later on.
And so with Lily, your aunt, and Willa, both teachers, what do you think their impact was on you around the whole Enfield civil rights movement?
I think both of them, they could see that changes need to be made in Enfield, and they were definitely two, you could probably call both of them pioneers during that time, because they were basically, because a lot of people, they accept the way things are. They don't, you know, and Miss Johnson and my aunt both was the type, they weren't going to just sit back and see things that are not fair. They're going to say something about them. And, you know, even, I would always say, even when my aunt got old, she would call the town, downtown here, and tell the people that if they had some property that need to be cut, the grass need to be cut, she would be the type that would tell them that. And Miss Johnson is the type too. They're not going to just sit back and see things that is not right or is unfair. And I mean, when you keep in one part of the town nice and clean and the other part that's run down, yeah, to me that's not right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And both of them, like I said, both of them were pioneers. And at that time, that's probably what it took. Some of the men, some of the other people, they didn't get as much involved as Miss Johnson and my aunt did, even though they helped out with the movement and everything. But I don't think they got as involved as those two people did.
What impact do you think all of that activity had on the town? The protests and the attempts to change things?
You know, I'm not going to say that in some cases it had a big impact. I mean, in some cases the town might be better off, but then there are other things I think that had a lot to do with the town. Actually, a lot of the town dying down, and that was mainly because of I-95, that instead of running through the town, they ran it actually what you'd say north of the town. It didn't come through the town. And then a lot of places, a lot of the town here, they closed down mainly because no industry ever came to this part of North Carolina, and it's mainly because it's a real small town. I don't, you know, I'm not gonna say what really took place after I left Enfield in 1966, because I don't really know if the schools ever really became fully integrated, because during my time it was only maybe like 6 of us. I think 6 of us graduated the year that I graduated, and I think the next year they had a few more that came, but I don't ever know if that school ever did become fully integrated, because in a lot of cases, instead of schools becoming fully integrated, they started moving to these private schools, you know, and that took away from a lot of the, from a lot of the town here. Mm-hmm. Because then a lot of the white people, they started, instead of them staying within the city limits. Most of them moved out of the city limits. So I don't know if, whether they would rather move out than to stay around black people or not, or whether, I don't know.
There's a question about the MLK training camp in Dorchester, Georgia. Do you remember that?
Gail, I just need to tell them to lower their voices because I'm getting them and
Oh,
they're
okay.
very loud in the other room.
No, I don't remember that one, do you?
Okay, okay. Let's see. You spent time teaching, a little bit of time teaching.
Yes.
And what would you say the impact of your teachers were on your teaching experience?
Well, in a way, when I started teaching, at first, I thought it was going to be kind of like the way it was when I was going to school, And the way I remember it was that we would go to school, and like I say, we would learn. But when I started teaching school, it was totally different. It was like the kids would get up and they would walk around. I mean, they didn't stay in the seats, and it's like all my life, I always thought that that when I started teaching or whatever my career would be later on in life, I thought I would be called Mr., like Mr. Saunders, just like I call my teachers, whatever their name, Miss Johnson, or, I always thought that's what they would give me, at least a title or something like that. But the kids, they did not do that. They call you, hey, Mr., hey, Mr., instead of Mr. Saunders or, like that. And it was just totally different. And like I say, the kids, no matter how much you ask them to sit down or anything, things of that nature, that you could not keep them in the seats. They would start throwing papers. They would say anything that came into their mind. I mean, it did not matter. They remind me of something like it's like they had no home training at all. They would, the girls and the boys would call each other names and everything, and you tell them no, they couldn't curse or anything like that. But they constantly said, like I said, say anything that came to their mind, they would say it. And they were constantly playing and stuff like that. You'd catch yourself, you'd be teaching, but you'd be teaching yourself, seemed like, because they're not listening. And I just said one day, that was enough for me. So I knew, what it was, I had taken, when I got out of the military, they had this thing called training for teachers, and all because I had graduated from college. It was easy for me to get my degree, so I had to get a teaching degree. But after the first year, since I gave up teaching, I had to end up giving the money back that they gave me for going to school to get my teaching degree. And so I never did. I only taught that 1 year, and then after that I decided I'd go into the prison system, and that's where I did